Okay. All right, meeting of the zoning board of appeals for the town of Mendon is hereby called to order. 6 p.m. We have a quorum. This is an in-person meeting with remote participation and is being recorded via Microsoft Teams. Attendance and voting via roll call. When I call your name, please respond with your last name. Roll call: Matt Clark, chair here. Tom Hurley, vice chair here. Tom Henderson. And here. David Price. Oh, Price. David, alternate here. Anybody have a chance to review the meetings?
We don't have minutes right now. I'm still training Lisa, so we'll have minutes.
We will reopen the hearing, as a continued hearing for the variance of lots 4 and 5 of York Manor, section map 8-189-53.
Good evening.
Good evening. The record, state your name, please.
I'm Ernie Pettinari. I'm a lawyer from Milford. Tim Icardi is here. Zach Icardi is sitting in the back of the room. As a matter of process, I think where we were the last time was we had a failure of electronics because the person that was attending by Zoom was losing his connection at the time we had concluded the meeting. So I want to make sure that I don't overstep here and have anybody suggest that we're trying to present anything new. The only thing that we're here tonight to tell you is we left here after conversations with the Lemons that evening, and they had asked for some screening to.
I briefly interrupt just for you guys wanting to.
And they had asked for some screening on the my direction, the northerly side where the common driveway will be, and we created that. And we're here tonight to offer it, and assuming your board sees fit to take it, and if your board is inclined to vote in favor of the variance, we're here to say we would welcome that as a condition for the issuance of the variance. But beyond that, we don't have anything new to present because I don't honestly think that there's anything new.
It's the that was
Henry's here.
I don't know if the Henry Lane, I'm sorry for the limits or the immediate butters. I don't know if the board has seen this plan or not,
No,
but
they have.
they do.
They have.
Not
yet, no.
We appreciate their effort to try to address their concerns. And I guess I didn't understand exactly what was going to happen when we were here last time, but when I look at that more carefully, it looks like, and I'm not an engineer, although I frequently play one on television, it looks like the driveway comes in and it's going to go downhill pretty fast, and it's going to leave a pretty significant cut right along the property line. We were hoping that we could preserve some of the vegetation because if you've been to the site, you can see that it's heavily vegetated right along that common boundary line. But because that driveway is going to have to be a cut and leave, I think, about a 4 to 6 foot.
Well, so it cuts 2 feet within every 30 feet, right about here. But the plan that we did forward to you for your review does have a note on it to leave all the natural vegetation after the stuff that I plant. So this note is on there.
Right.
So I don't know if you noticed that, but we don't plan to cut any of that vegetation.
I got that, but right along the side of their house, because of the cut, it looks like you have to essentially grade right to the stone wall, and you're proposing to replant, but you're eliminating all that natural vegetation, which we were hoping to be able to keep.
Okay. I understand.
Because,
I understand exactly what you're saying. The driveway does veer off,
Yeah.
so there's not going to be a cut over here.
But that's way behind the house.
Well, that's the natural vegetation.
I
So,
get that, but,
and this is what we propose to replace,
right.
which would be better than the natural because this is green. This is all swamp maples and
Yeah.
you lose the leaves, obviously, but this is all, these are all the applicator, Green Giant. So those will, you're not going to even be able to see through. So it's going to be natural. It's going to be better than natural. You know, I like to use them because of that fact, and they're dare proof, so they don't get eaten. But I can pass this plan around if you'd like.
Okay.
Sure.
This is the proposed. This is. That's it. This is one of the entries.
How far is the house
From the street or from the line?
from the line?
From the line, it looks like about a 40-foot from the back there. It's about 40 foot. It's 1 inch per foot.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. But it has the arborvitae that's planned for him. No, those are there. So I had the engineer put them so it would block right up to that, you know. It's, they grow quick. I use them all the time.
Have you satisfied yourself with any?
I understand the plan, as I say, our preference. I don't want to go through the whole thing again. You know my position. You've heard it enough times. No hardship, self-created situation. We appreciate, you know, the situation he's in. He has other recourse. He can put a subdivision in if he wants. But essentially, you know, you have a bylaw. We're actually asking to enforce it. He doesn't have enough frontage for even one lot. He's asking for two. I know you're working on a retreat lot bylaw. Great, do it. Then you can do it legally. That's the way you're supposed to do it. You know, I enjoy mercy and grace frequently in my own life, but that's not really your mandate in this case. So, yes,
How do the lemons feel about
they like it the way it is. They like the natural
it? Well, I
buffer.
know that. I mean, you're now related to the house. I mean,
Yeah,
they
they,
got control now.
right.
If they live in a bylaw, they can control.
No, it'd be a special permit. We'd still have some control, but
Yeah. Okay.
like most people in this situation, the choice between something and nothing, they like nothing. They like to retain the buffer the way it is.
It's gonna be something.
We'll see. Anyway, we appreciate the effort, but we really rather retain the vegetation that's currently there. And a bit of privacy and et cetera.
That's what he's thinking. He's talking.
No, no.
Stone wall for what?
Yes.
Yeah.
The,
I mean, all I ask is that we make the motion either way. We state the objective finding.
So the, where's the pole? The pole from, is it close to the stone wall or is it marked on it?
The what?
Like the telephone pole, where the utility pole to be able to, where are you gonna come in with the utility?
So the pole would be right at the frontage, probably to the right of the driveway going in, because the poles are on the opposite side of the street. So a pole has to be set. There'll probably be two poles and then it'll go underground from there.
Is there any way to, a driveway setbacks effective here, or is there any room to slide the driveway more southern away from the Len's house to be able to cut less of the I mean, I agree with you on what's there. These trees are gonna be nicer and by far. However, it's the natural you're asking for. If it's an option, but again, I believe trees would be a much better look than that overgrowth.
Yeah, so, look, I put these on the plan because they're a much nicer looking tree. The trees that are out there now are pretty swampy. They're pretty much, disfigured because of the growth, because of the vines. So, you know, hey, I could cut the entrance and plant maples back up, but they're gonna lose their screening every year. So I just thought, you know, these are a nice looking tree. They grow very fast. These are 6 to 8 now, and they stay green and they're dare resistant, you know, they're placata, so they don't get destroyed in the winter. I use them all the time and I like them and they just work. So that's what I had offered up. I thought that would solve the, you know, the screening issue.
So I think we'll be left the last meeting, we were hoping that next week comes some kind of middle ground, with regard to screening and impacts and something of that nature. And so the lemons aren't here, but it's.
Mrs. Lemon is here. We did look at the plans, and as I say, we discussed it, given the choice. And I guess, as I said earlier, I didn't realize when we were here a month ago that there's actually a pretty significant cut going in there, which is going to require the elimination of all that natural vegetation. And we appreciate the effort, you know, to do an ornamental replacement. But we're old. We like it just the way it is.
It's a 2-foot cut. It's not a real significant cut. It's being built back up. No, it's not. It's not. You know, I do have to take out the top and sub, but I'm building it back up with gravel. So it's a 2-foot increment drop. It's not a significant steep drop or anything.
That looked like around 4 feet, maybe I'm missing something.
So it's 2 foot. Here's existing. Okay. That's because there's a hole here. But right here, so you have proposed,
But the,
existing is 452. Proposed is 452. Existing is 448. Proposed is 448. So it's not a significant drop.
well, you got 454
That's
here.
because there's a hole right. It's a low spot there, and there's a low spot over here
Here's
as well.
456 here, and your driveway's at 450, so it's 6 feet below our side yard.
I'm not going to leave a hole there. I'm going to fill it back up to where
Well,
it is.
the grading shows a 6-foot drop, so
Is there anyone else in the audience that has any input or like to be heard? Motion to go to hearing.
I'm going to put both. I thought we vote outside, can I?
you gotta close
The
it.
hearing and then vote.
I thought they closed the hearing last
You
time.
gotta close, no, they couldn't because there was a question about.
They
the
closed it because they went for a vote, but you couldn't hear them vote.
They continue.
Yeah. so we can- I'll make the motion to close the hearing.
Second. Here, Chuck Collins. Second. And John agrees. Yes. Motion. Say motion headline. Give the motion.
I'll make a motion to approve this variance, based on meeting topography as well as the shape.
Second.
Matt Clark, aye.
Morale, aye.
John, aye.
You want to incorporate this, right?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. And you have a print of it? I'll give the printer one.
Yes, I can send them.
Send it to Bill. Send it to Bill.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you.
In accordance with MDL chapter 48, section 10, a public hearing will be held on September 19th, 2024, at 6 p.m. for variance regarding 14 Lunball Road, section map 22-14. Applicants, Randy and Paul, and Kimberly, seeking relief from amendment zoning bylaws 2.0 use an existing driveway, the joining parcel to access the property. Who's here representing that?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Rob Knappich, Allen Engineering. It's a pleasure to be before you again on behalf of, as you mentioned, Randy and Kimberly Paul. They are the applicants and the owners of the property known as 14 Lundvall Road in Mendon. And this is an application for a variance to use an existing driveway as a common driveway to serve two lots. This is a copy of the relevant assessor's map. It's included in the application, but I'm drawing your attention to it just for some context. This is Lundvall Road, which you see highlighted in yellow. It's the parcels that the Balls purchased in 2015. It's approximately 14 acres, a little over 14 acres.
Where's the line right now? What's the line out? What line is it?
What's the question?
What line? No.
So I think this will show you what you, so this is lot 14, I'm sorry, on assessor's map 22. Yes, it's called lot 14. I'm also showing you here a plan that was also included in the application. What you see here is the entirety of the parcel, the black area. What I've highlighted in yellow is what's called Lot 2 on this plan. So in June of this year, Mr. and Mrs. Ball submitted this plan to the planning board, and it was endorsed, and this plan creates Lot 1 and Lot 2. Now, the Mr. and Mrs. Ball reside in the house on Lot 1, that's shown in pink. Again, Lot 2 is the vacant lot created by this plan, it's shown in yellow. What I've highlighted in blue is an access easement that goes through Lot 1 and is over the existing driveway. So you can think of, for purposes of this plan and purposes of the application, you can think of this blue shape as the driveway. And that is the driveway that the application requests permission to be used as a common driveway. And the reason that is so is because, as you can see on this plan, which is a little larger scale, again, Lot 2, shown in yellow, Lot 1 is here. In blue is the driveway. In green is a wetland. The wetland, I think, basically goes along the driveway. And in pink on this plan is the proposed dwelling. So in order for this house to be served by its own driveway, in accordance with your zoning bylaw, that driveway would have to be contained within the lot. There's a number of reasons why that presents a hardship, and therefore it's a basis for our request for a variance. The first is the presence of wetlands. As you can see, you have to cross pretty substantial wetlands if you stay within this driveway. The second is some topographic considerations. And the third is the fact that a portion of Lot 2 is covered by a conservation restriction, a reported restriction that restricts development on Lot 2. There's a number of benefits to using this common driveway to serve both lots. It's really more efficient. It has less environmental impact that would result in less wetland build. So we do believe that there are circumstances relating to the shape, topography, soil conditions, mainly wetland, that are a hardship. Finally, the house will be served by obviously its own septic system, its own well, and we know that the soils can accommodate that. There is ample room to construct the house. The house will also meet all of the necessary zoning setbacks. So again, this is an application to use this driveway, which is on Lot 1, for access to Lot 2. Thank you.
You're gonna convert that into a J drive.
Yes.
I'm at direct butter.
Oh, okay.
I'm at 12.
Okay.
So that's that's an existing easement.
Yes, so this easement was created when this plan was endorsed by the planning board and recorded. It's shown here, it's labeled as a proposed 30-foot wide utility and access easement, mostly utilities. I think there's some poles that go up there that serve that, and they would take off of that pole for lot 2. But yes, to answer your question, it's an existing easement. When and if the variance is granted, if a house was constructed and the lot conveyed, it would be conveyed along with rights in that easement.
Now, if the shared driveway wasn't utilized, you would have to basically go across all of that conservation. Right.
Yes, exactly. This is all wetlands, extending pretty much all the way to Lundvall Road. So in order to, your bylaw says that a driveway is supposed to be contained within a lot. And in order to do that, you'd have to cross. By the way, I should have mentioned the entire length of this, just for sort of scale or reference, is about 1,000 feet. So if you created another driveway, there'd essentially be a second 1,000-foot long driveway paralleling that, but crossing wetlands.
Was this contemplated when you created the lots for the planning board?
I have to say, honestly, I don't know.
Okay.
It predates my involvement with
Well,
it.
I can tell you one thing on it. If
I don't want my clients
may.
compensated.
When Frank Williams, I live at 12 Lundville Road. And when I purchased my lot, I was told by the two builders that there was never supposed to be another house there. Only one house. It was a one-house lot, because it was all conservation land. So that's my take on that question for you. And Lonnie, your father told me that when I built.
Sure. I'm going to abstain as a member from this because history and our involvement. So, yes, I think in theory, that lot was sold as one lot. However, the bylaws allow it to share. There's enough land for a second house, even with the, so there's enough land there on that. And it's, the lot obviously has been, I think, involved with third owners of the lot past us.
Correct.
Thank you for mentioning that. I failed to mention that, but it is an important point that each of these lots meets the minimum frontage and area requirement. So they are both, buildable lots.
To be clear, there are currently 2 lots rather than one, correct?
Yes, this plan has been recorded so that the 2 lots exist. Yes.
So when was it? What year was that?
The plan was recorded 6/20/24.
When were the lots created? That was a previous.
Oh, yes. So yeah, I think I refer, so
Probably
my,
around
89.
89,
Yeah.
right, because that's when.
exactly. Something called Springbrook at Mendon was a subdivision, and that was dated February of 89. I can't remember what happened last week, but you remembered what happened in 89. That was pretty impressive.
So to be clear though, each of these lots, we're not giving a variance for building of the house, that they can do that by right.
Exactly.
We're giving a variance regarding the driveway. So regardless whether a decision is here tonight, a house can be built there, right?
Yes, the house,
Per our bylaw.
yeah, we've actually designed a septic system. I think we've even, yeah, this is a detailed plan. It's pretty busy, but in general, this shows a proposed house grading. A house can be built there. There's no question about that. And you said it correctly. The only reason we're here because your bylaw says that driveways are supposed to be wholly contained within a lot. if we're able to use that driveway for access to lot two, obviously it's not within lot two. So that's,
So the decision before us is essentially whether or not this driveway that already exists is going to be utilized for both, or the driveway is going to go across the entire lot and
correct.
eventually across conservation. That's the decision, not whether or not the house is going to.
Exactly.
Is the conservation easement does that restrict anything within that easement?
Yes, it restricts any development or construction within the easement. And the easement is not over the entirety of the lot. The easement is mostly on this sort of westerly half of the lot. The line separating conservation restricted land from non-conservation restricted land is there.
It's not shown.
What sort of process would you have to go through to get a driveway built through the conservation? Like, would you have to engage other boards?
Yes, we'd have to appear before the Conservation Commission, and we have to ask for a permit called an order of conditions. As you probably know, anytime you do work within 100 feet of a wetland, you need a permit. So, yeah, the green is the wetland line, the dashed is the conservation.
This is where's the restriction?
Right there.
That's the conservation restriction.
Correct. Yes.
So based upon that plan there, that conservation restriction would not allow a driveway to come off of One Wall Road in that lot space in that frontage, because it's all below that for the first 30 feet. So, and not to mention the topography there. I don't know if you have a topography map, but it's like, it's a cliff. It goes down. So again, you could not cross that first section with the conservation restriction.
Exactly. Yes, those are the three bases for a hardship. One is the presence of wetlands. Two is the topography, as you mentioned, and I think I did too in my remarks. And three is the conservation restriction. That's why we argue that this is unique and it meets the criteria for a hardship for the grant of a variance.
Was it currently legally exists almost to the point of the neighbor? It's even though the upland is not restricted.
Right.
It's restricted by assets.
Yeah, so, I mean, the CR area is restricted, everything else is not. And there's, as we show on the plan, ample room for a house, a well, septic system.
So,
And for what it's worth, Williams, is it?
Yes,
Thank you, sir.
right.
So if I look at the topography, 316, and this goes down, I can understand full well anybody who's lives next to the site of proposed development wanting to be informed and aware and even concerned. However, given the topography, I do think it's probably not going to be visible from your house, this construction. So in terms of,
My concern was the wetlands,
I'm sorry?
the conservation of the wetlands.
Yes,
Okay, you know, if we're all concerned about that, and it says on the side of the building, protect our water supply, we either protect our water supply or take that sign down.
well, I appreciate that.
Okay,
And I
so
would
if we're gonna do it, if it's gonna go through, I would say the one driveway, shared driveway. Not fill that in. Plus, as Lonnie said, that's a cliff on that side. You'd have to fill so much in that you would ruin the wetlands.
Exactly.
And then I would have to take that sign down.
I can't argue with that.
Well, you just couldn't legally do it.
Well, exactly. But, you know, I have to get a petition first to take it
It
down.
would be no. It would be
All right.
So I'll say if I may, the driveway entrance off of the shared portion is not a lot of distance. It's probably 80 feet to where the proposed parking area is going to be.
Yeah. So it's, I think what you're referring to is Within the blue area is the shared driveway. And this would be the intersection of the proposed driveway and small parking area with the existing driveway. So thinking of it in the terms that you mentioned, with this plan, the amount of new driveway constructed is probably, as you said, 80 or 100 feet. And without this variance, it could well be another
It's way less than.
1,000.
Well,
Right.
what's the plan if this variance isn't approved?
I don't know. We haven't discussed that, but
There was one
presumably
other,
it's,
excuse me, there's one other thing on that plan that said something about a sports court. We're not only building a house, but we're building a sports court too.
yes.
Well, see, now you're taking more of the conservation land in that area. to build
Well,
this.
not really. I mean, so what's shown on this plan is the wetland line.
Yeah,
And then 100 feet from that wetland line is the Conservation Commission's jurisdiction. The development of the house and the related improvements are mostly outside of that 100-foot line. They're certainly not in wetlands. The proposed development will not fill any wetlands. And in fact, as you can see, these are the related improvements, some sort of a court, a septic system. They're even mostly outside of the Conservation Commission's jurisdiction. They're also not, just to be clear, none of this touches, because we can't, the land within the conservation easement. And I'm not sure when you said the conservation land, if you were referring to wetlands or the conservation easement. But this plan does not alter any of the land that's covered by the conservation easement.
That could not be training or anything else, business out of it?
Oh, I don't think they can run a business. It's a residential zone. It's wholly,
It's like a basketball court slash.
that's my understanding.
Yes.
Yeah, you.
Yeah.
And I'll go with that.
But just to be clear, but I just want to make sure I understand correctly. This, albeit it's upland, it's built to access it, that's a land area and all that,
Yes.
but it has no access.
It has what?
It has no legal access.
Has no access.
Well, I mean,
Right.
when you say access, it has frontage. So
Frontage, different-
So usually, when we talk about access, we talk about frontage. It has frontage, but it's not really practical access, or it's not feasible.
It belongs to the lot size.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's,
The farming lot.
in order to even make this work, you'd have to go in front of Concom and,
Yes, correct.
Is that,
I don't know.
it's a conservation, it's
It's just
great.
right, heat restricted.
They could potentially deny this because of the amount of fill involved, I believe. You have a right to fill up to a certain amount, more or less a right to gain access to upland, but I think the amount of fill would exceed that amount. So it would be a tough road to hoe.
Just speaking as the assistant planner, the 81P for approval not required that the planning board already signed, it would have to have reasonable access, and even if there are wetlands, it's considered reasonable access. Reasonable access is like a really wide ranging thing in Massachusetts, even though it might not seem like there's access. On the planning side, they couldn't sign an 81P if there wasn't a possibility of access.
So what does the conservation restrictions say? What's it, usually those are like.
No development at all. That's right. Yeah, so I see what you're focused on. So as Dylan said, when the planning board is presenting with a plan, the sort of narrow focus is, do you have access? And here, yes, there is access right up at Lunball Road, because this part of the lot isn't covered by a conservation restriction, nor are there wetlands. It is pretty steep, as I think was mentioned. However, it does have actual access. It does qualify to be created. But the practical reality is that very soon after you get into the lot and you're building this theoretical driveway, that's when you encounter the hardships of wetlands and the conservation restriction.
Unique.
Yes, very.
Very unique. So realistically, though, it is, our decision is going to, that this house is going to be contingent on this decision.
There's more, no,
There's no real.
the conservation commission could not hear that, it was like, oh, we the deed restriction.
Right, I don't think that's something they
Uh,
can do.
Yes, no, they don't have the authority to,
Really,
grant-
the only path to access is this shared driveway.
Conservation restriction, I think, at least the conservation restriction requires both legislators.
Yeah,
And not to mention driveway already being here, I think I'm part of the reason. So the amount of impervious surface would double, and if you were to add, would have to go through wetlands just to do that. And this is very, way less invasive to that, even if the restriction wasn't there.
The only thing I like to see, I'd like to see, go to the fire department, make sure they get a fire in the shared driveway. Fire. With that.
So,
Have you ever been up that driveway? Yeah,
just for.
So I don't have a fire department look at it.
yeah.
Ooh,
That's why you're from a practice attorney as well. The
Yes.
legal position here. When they purchased it is, it had this restriction. There was no path to add, roadway to get to the back of the buildable portion of the lot. That has to be changed. I think, just, what are we doing that, I'm sure.
well, so to be clear though, certainly, the purchaser was on notice that the CR existed, conservation easement. However, as this plan also demonstrates, there's clearly enough area and frontage for two lots. So what they considered at the time they purchased it, I don't know.
If the conservation restriction wasn't there, this would be a perfect lot for.
Well, it would still have the wetlands, and that presents a real challenge.
I mean, just in terms of for a house.
Yeah,
For a house
it'd be a
where-
little less complicated,
It'd be
I
less
guess.
complicated,
Yeah.
But
they have all the uplands.
Could I ask, and forgive me for not knowing this, are you a 3-member board or a 5?
we're three voting members, 2 alternates.
Okay, thank you.
And one of our alternates is abstained from being a member, so we spoke to this member.
So the 3 voting members are, thank you.
I just want to at least establish that kind of legal position, and then what we do, again, it does make sense that the
Do
existing.
grant it and put the decision, let have the fire department look at it, contingent on them approving. If they get in there, fire costs, whatever. It's an emergency,
You know if there's any other.
but they might have to upgrade their driveway.
So we've heard from the board, is there anybody in the audience that?
Do you want to speak? No?
Favor, against, concerns? Please feel free to.
Against, favor?
I would say this concerns with wetlands.
State your name and just
Ah.
step up if you could, please.
Denise Burrows, and I am also a neighbor in there. Just concerns because, well, for one, I didn't know that that was a buildable lot for a second home. So I thought that was just one lot. Based on the conservation issues. It's a little concerning for us why, we would allow to have another house built when for 30 years it's been as it is. So that's a little bit of a concern, like, what does that do? We open the door for that, and then my other neighbor wants to do the same thing, and then we all bought in this neighborhood because it was small and there's conservation land and so we can build here.
This lot was created when they did the subdivision.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any more lots, I know.
Yes, there is. Yeah. There's one more to the left of the house, there's one up there, one at the end of Ashland's. There's one on the market, that has another lot as well. That actually abuts the side of this and. Sorry.
Yeah, but that was That was created way back when.
Right, that's
Right,
really-
yeah.
Again, this lot was huge. It was 14 acres. Yeah, almost 15 acres.
Yeah.
So the fact that it was a single lot for all this time is just because that, but anyway, the rest of it's owned it at one point.
It was the Rustics, then
Yes.
the Balls.
So it was bought as a 50, it was designed as a 15-acre lot and sold as that.
How is this zoned?
Yeah, so thank you for asking that. I failed to mention that at the outset, and I think this is an important point, perhaps for the concerned abutters too, when I know when they think, oh, another lot, but I think the good news is that the minimum zoning requirement in this R zoning district is 60,000 square feet of area, about an acre and a half. And lot 1 is 4 acres. Lot 2, the lot on which the house may be built, is 10 acres. So they are pretty ample in size.
There's 60,000 square feet of buffer.
There, yes, there's plenty of upland as well.
Yeah.
Exactly. In fact, the amount of upland, what,
You got the acre, you thought that was-
Will this have to go in front of the Conservation Commission regardless?
yes, and the reason is because although I said it's absolutely true that the proposed development will not fill any wetlands, it is, some of the grading associated with the septic system is within 100 feet of a wetland. So in that case, the conservation has jurisdiction up to that 100-foot line. So anytime you're doing anything within that line, you have to demonstrate, as we do on this plan, that you're taking measures to prevent the siltation and erosion from getting into the wetland. And it's the usual and customary method of, staked hay bales or that sort of thing. Yes, it is subject and it will be reviewed by both the Conservation Commission concerning what I just said, and also the Board of Health concerning this septic system.
This is not your last step.
Correct. Yes, this is about
There's another
halfway
meeting next
through.
week on that.
What's that?
So there's another meeting next
Next
week on that, I
The
believe.
26th.
Well, the 26th,
Okay.
2 weeks.
Yeah, you're probably right. You've got notice.
Yes.
That's only the first step.
Mhm.
Second.
So it was a legally created lot. It's a little unique in that there's a conservation restriction.
Yeah, I can't speak to why the decision was made when this subdivision was laid out to create or leave a lot that could have been 2 and is now 2. I don't know why that was done, but maybe there was a reason. But yes, the lot, 14 acres in size, from which 2 conforming lots can be created.
Just because what we're talking about here tonight, 2 conforming lots really could not be created because of the wetland and the additional super long driveway. The person that, when we were building, so Lundenball Road, when we built Springbrook, we did Ashland. A lot of the homes on Ashland, we built. And so Lundenball, a lot of people bought the lots and built their own homes. This was a lot that was for sale. So we couldn't make it 2 lots. You could have, but it would have been a shared driveway scenario. So the person that bought that lot, the larger lot, or a nice private back lot. Other people that live there would like to build another house for themselves, sell the existing. And that's why the shared driveways, because as you stated, it's very, very difficult or near impossible to get the driveways. Frontage.
Evening. I've two different feelings. Like, on the one hand, I think it's a fairly straightforward request, given the shape, topography. It's crazy topography, for a lot. Like the shared driveway is fairly straightforward request. The other hand, this house would not have been without this request. It's people with concern, valid concerns about the conservation and the area being affected by this, which is why it is the conservation.
And then a shared driveway in the wintertime, who plows it and who pays to plow it? It's a long driveway.
That's gonna be.
So when that fight erupts and the police have to get there, then what do you do?
So,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I would want to share driveway.
No, yes, yes.
Hmm.
Because I live in a shared family, but we're all family, so.
Yeah, well,
It's a little bit.
yeah.
But in this case, there will be a, whether it's an HOA or whatever, because it's not only the plowing of the driveway, it's the maintenance, still going the driveway, if there's a problem, who fixes it. So there, in this scenario, I think in this scenario, or this is something we're talking about now, because shared driveways, it's on there so that you don't have to come here to get it. So we're getting these pieces now, but in this case, it would be either an HOA or something that there's money put into, it's used, the money. That's specifically for the driveway and things there.
So if I might just wrap up a quick remark, if that's okay. So I think you said it very well. In these situations, there can be and often is sort of two ways to look at it. And one way to look at it is, you know, what's our narrow charge, the legal focus? And I think sound like you agreed with our argument that when you look at the narrow focus of, is there some hardship relating to the shape, topography, or soil conditions? There is. I think that's pretty clear. The other way to look at it is with unrelated, but still valid issues about abutter concerns, you know, length of driveway. On the other side of that coin, I could argue that, you know, there's a need for housing and this will provide additional housing. It'll contribute to the tax base, but in the end, that stuff isn't really relevant to your narrow charge. So I would submit to you that on that narrow charge, I do think it meets the test for the grant of a variance. And I respectfully ask on behalf of the balls that you grant.
I have a question for the butters. Were this to be granted, is there any sort of conditions you would request?
I don't really have any conditions at this particular time that, I mean, building a house, I mean,
Well, your concerns are.
my concerns are basically the what, number one. What, right,
Screening.
yeah.
Well, wells, yeah.
I mean, I know when they built
Every time.
the Balls house, I know my neighbor Jack had an issue with his well when they built that house. I didn't, but he did. So we built this one,
So,
but
sorry, to get back to the point, and I understand the concern. What is it? The well is not a concern, the wetland is not a concern, the it's. And not
Right.
to discredit that.
No.
It's just not our charge. Our charge is this.
The other hearings are for those concerns.
right,
The Board of Health will
Yeah,
be.
I mean, I don't- the house itself, you know, when they finally built the house in the back, it was, you know, just something we had to get used to.
We were like 20 years, no neighbor. But we said, you know, 15 acres, only, I'm sorry, Debbie Williams. They said there would just be room for, we thought, one lot. So I was like, oh, what are you gonna do? And then filled in, you forgot they were even there. Then all of a sudden, here comes this other lot with a sports court, like, where's that coming from?
Right, understandable. Where the location of this house is in relation to your house. Yeah,
No, it's these, and it's, yeah.
don't even see the roof.
Right.
Not that is anything.
Right, I mean, it's, my only other concern, but looking at all this is that there'll never be another house built there.
That's what we were thinking.
I didn't want it to go from this variance, okay, now we built this one. Now we got all this other land, we want to build another house.
Yeah.
I can't build another house there just by one.
Right,
Only so much water you can get out of it.
right.
And I don't think that. Let me just, I just want to pull up.
Now, I have a question, it's a question about the process. For those in the board who might know. Could the Conservation Commission or Board of Health realistically conduct their hearings before the variances decided? No, we can't, okay, right, no, I get you.
Yeah. So I mean, the fact that the lot legally existed and is conforming at the time of the purchase. And presumably at the time that you folks, you know, like it was just recently, that's a possible. It's just a little weird that the conservation restrictions. It's not fixed,
Right,
accessibility of, yeah.
yeah, you mean that.
What that.
The thing about the shared driveway, the way I see the shared driveway, I mean, it's not intrusive.
Yes, no, not.
It's, you're not adding anything. I mean, the impact that we're discussing is the house. Realistically, and that's, in my opinion, that's for the Conservation Commission to decide on. What the impact the house might be upon the wells. We're looking at whether or not the unique topography of this parcel and shape and other sort of conditions warrants variance from the zoning. That's the narrow focus we're discussing here today. So
I can speak to MGL 40A, section 81P, I think that's right. The vital access, you're talking about access to that lot and access to drive in and get to a house. That's mostly for an emergency, and the planning board wouldn't have been able to sign if there was absolutely no way they could have gotten in. Conservation restriction, the fire department isn't gonna care,
Yeah,
honestly. In an extreme emergency, there's, you know, they might drive their fire truck over it, which is not good, but it's not daily access. It's not a car driving over the wetlands every single day.
So we've done this before, we've had the fire department.
Yeah,
On the driveway.
they can look to make sure that it's not gonna affect them. But this driveway already exists,
Well,
right?
well, let's put,
Yeah.
if the fire truck can get up this driveway now, this existing.
Yeah.
And there's,
Yeah.
But I just want to make sure that
Yeah.
they know.
all right,
I'm ready to make a motion. Make a motion, to approve this variance based on the unique topography, soil conditions causing a hardship on this parcel, with the condition that the fire department is able to approve the shared lot as for accessibility.
second.
Tom, Raleigh, aye.
I,
Carries, thank you.
Fire department already has a copy.
So, just two quick things. I know it's not, but I was wrong. The lot to the left of the one that just came to sale in the cul-de-sac already has a house on it.
yep.
And there is one other lot that's 18 acres.
There is.
It's across the street from your house.
Oh,
That
yes.
has a ton of frontage that loops all the way around.
We know that.
So, but I just said that.
Well, John was looking to build there, I think.
Okay, so there is another lot that's big enough to put another house on, but wouldn't, unless it's wet in there, which I don't believe it is wet in there, then everything would be by right. to the thing.
Oh, that's fine. I said my piece and now I know exactly what's going on, which before I didn't know what was going on. So now I'm better informed. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thanks, folks.
Okay,
Have a good night.
See you.
Thanks, Dylan.
Have a good night.
Reverse. In accordance with MGL Chapter 48, Section 10, public hearing will be held on September 19, 2024.
Sorry,
Mendon,
I start with one second. Close that hearing. Yeah, big more. I'll make a motion to close the hearing.
I'll second that motion.
14.
Do we have to revote?
I would.
Yeah, okay. Tom Morelli, I to close the hearing.
John Vanderstone.
I will make a motion to approve the variance as written. It's based on the hardships caused by the unique topography, soil conditions and shape of the property. With the condition that the fire department approves the shared driveway for.
Second.
John Ray, I'll say the names. Matt Clark, aye. Tom Morelli.
Aye.
John Vanderstone. In accordance with MGL Chapter 48, Section 10, public hearing will be held on September 19, 2024, in the Town Hall at 6 p.m. For special permit and variance regarding 89 Avenue, Section Map 13-140-3. Property owner. The applicant tenant, beyond the shed, is seeking relief from the Bend zoning bylaw section 3.01D. Change the property use from non-conforming use to another, namely. Velocity use.
Me, Brianna Shed.
My name is Bob Shed. Her dad just here for moral support.
So I'm going in front of the board to look for relief for a special permit for a dog training and daycare facility. You know, I do everything kind of my own transport, so I wouldn't have a bunch of people kind of coming and going. I do a lot of like day hikes as well, so we'll go out to different parks and go on hikes and whatnot. The inside part of it would be where kind of I would do my training and host classes, you know, from realistically like midday on weekends. And, you know, I kind of limit the number of dogs. I wouldn't be taking more than 20 tops. You know, I'm very selective and kind of evaluate everybody, so I know what to expect. I do training as well as part of my daily routine, so there's not a lot of, you know, nuisance barking by any means. You know, everything would be picked up and stored properly as far as dog waste. And yeah,
I also just want to point out in your packets, I believe in your packets, but at least on the online ones I sent, there are a number, I think 2 special permits that have already gone through for this property, making it non-conforming. So it has been other non-conforming uses in the past. Computer repair place, I think, and then another like a manufacturing facility. So it has gone through ZBA multiple times, switching from non-conforming use to non-conforming use. So it has a history.
yeah.
And I just put the property up things.
And previously, I guess there was a dog training facility here for quite a few years.
There was, back in, I don't know, that's been too much here, but it was it was called canine something.
I think it was Hex Dog Training.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Was it? No, I was gonna say, wasn't it dance something or other at some point?
There is a dance there as
There
well, a
was few
studio.
different things
Larry Hills, hot dog.
there.
Yep, he's still there.
Up front.
So this is zoning on the. I don't know. Where that's split.
Yeah.
I have that map too.
So,
Can I ask a question? I don't live very well.
Okay.
If I'm asking something hard to answer. I live across the street.
Why don't you sit up here, Eddie, this here?
I live across the street. My only concern is
is there ever gonna be any overnight keeping dogs there?
Nope, it's gonna be daycare and training, so
No, I
during the
know
day.
it says that, but
Yeah,
you don't ever see that.
nope, daycare and training.
Okay. That's the only question I have. I mean, most everybody over there has been pretty good. So.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, Linda Ashworth. I live actually on Anthony Road, but our property abuts Mr. Dillon and is right across Hartford Ave. So I guess our question is about the noise. If the dogs are gonna be outside, if there's gonna be 20 dogs, up to 20 dogs, is it gonna be an outside?
No, it's all gonna be run inside.
All of the dogs will stay inside all day long?
Well, we bring them out for like potty breaks, but it'd be like on leash type of deal. Like nobody's gonna be really running around.
So there's no kennels behind the building? You be
No.
having kennels or anything like that, that the dogs would be outside?
Nope. You know, they'd be out like on a leash type of deal, but they're not gonna be out running around like in a play group.
There was at one point a dog training facility,
Right. Can't be the name of it. X.
and I don't think they ever had any problems. I don't know why.
How long you folks lived where you're at now?
42 years.
Yeah, so you've been through the.
We've been there for a while, yeah.
Any concerns with the previous use with the dog training facility?
Dog training, no. I just knew that there was gonna be daycare. I think the letter said that, and she just mentioned 20 dogs. So that was kind of our concern, because our backyard is right up to that, next to Mr. Dillon, so.
Was this property developed or was building built during your time, living there?
No, I think it's been there
Since the day.
for many, many years, hasn't
Yeah,
it?
it started off, well, it used to be a mill.
Yeah,
And
right.
they had the looms going all night long.
It's down the river.
Most of the noise is covered by the trucks going by. anyway.
Yeah, you remember right the end of the road. It looks like a new.
It looks, yeah. It looks new siding. 1830.
Yeah, it's been there since 1830, you guys sure?
So I'm Wayne Ashworth. Also, so I'd say first, appreciate the invitation for awareness and opportunity to come here, provide some input. So whatever caused that, I was responsible for that. That's appreciated. It's terrific. I applaud the entrepreneurial spirit to better do something. So given at least what I've heard, right, if we could have some conditions that are associated with some patrols, we could be fine. So the overnight piece, right, so parking at night, a limit of 20 dogs, nothing at night, kind of the controls that I think was offered by the applicant would be fine. I would appreciate that written in as conditions, and at some point, if it needed to be enforced, I would expect that there's an enforcing measure within the town.
Sure. So just on that, so is this, do you need to get a kennel license?
Yeah.
Okay, so a lot of these rules will be set by the select board and not, we could add conditions, but the select board have the final say on the granting of the kennel license, which that's where they set the limits on dog. It's gonna be based on space.
They don't work in parallel. They don't work in parallel, so the applicant would have to abide by both parties.
Yeah.
So again, at the same time too, the animal inspection is going to come down and really set those guidelines. There's a whole state law of how many are allowed based on square footage, things like that. So that we can definitely set them here, but the majority of all those rules are already set in the state law.
So what protects us from 6 months from now, 40 dogs and then deciding to do overnights?
We definitely can set these in this very.
I guess that's what I'm asking
Yeah,
for.
sure.
But looking for protection so that we stay at the level the applicant is requesting. and not, yeah, someone else takes it over, or is there- the applicant becomes more,
It can be granted.
excited about the opportunity, and wants to double the revenue, so it just grows into something much larger.
Yep.
I mean, that's why we have the ordinance in the first place, is to protect as a starting point. So we can give on the ordinance as long as we have some conditions that limit it, how far they go. It sounds like that's not an encumbrance to the applicant to have those conditions.
I think what I was getting at too was there might be no restrictions.
Well, okay, that's,
Yeah, so it's just a really good situation because the zoning is split zoning on rural residential. So do we have a map of the, where the zoning, let's see what is.
This is rural residential and the light, and then that's general business, I think.
Isn't it, like, 1830, predates.
Yes. The building does.
So essentially where it would be noisy would be legal. Because the building is outside of the commercial zone where the dogs would be inside. I'm just the irony of it, you know.
why are we having the process done?
Because she has to bring the dogs into the building.
Okay.
Which is in the road.
So
But yeah, the building predates.
I think based on council, we would have to. If they approve two different variances for this, one related to the residential requirement and one related to commercial use in the residential district, considered this a split lot. And then after that, we would have to get a special permit from the planning. So.
Use.
Yeah, exactly. It's confusing, but
And then a kennel license on top of that, after that.
So I'll set you up with the planning.
that's why we have, that's
board.
why we have lawyers to make things more complicated.
Yeah, and it's, again, the building predates zoning, so having that existed on may not be something that. it's- I hear.
Yeah.
One other question is, you don't have control of the lights over there.
No,
That's something that also could be addressed at the licensure.
Well, there's
For the
two,
planning board, especially.
there's two lights that one is focused on the bedroom, the other one's focused on the kitchen. And then you know,
Have you ever
I talked to the new owner
Yep.
several months ago, and he said he was gonna look into it. I haven't heard from him. I mean, and that's like nothing to do with you. Nothing.
But that actually, that is something to bring up to the zoning officer because lighting, leaving the property is actually not the, so even for a pre-existing non-conforming, I'm sure the lights will put up after 1830. Unless they're the same way, unless they add.
And they just need to,
Yeah, I think that we can probably, maybe from that.
I can do that. Yeah, I'll talk to the building commissioner and see if he can talk to the owner.
okay, minor problem.
Even with the special permit, we did, that's a chance to.
Yeah.
To address that.
Are you using the whole building?
no, just about 1,600 square feet.
Okay.
Yep.
Is there anything else in the building?
There's quite a few things. There's the hot dog place, the dance studio, like a machine shop, I want to say, and something else.
So there's various commercial.
Yeah, it's all commercial, some storage.
The last variance basically established like commercial. Some other allowed uses.
I mean, yeah, it's right across the street from the, you know, the ice rink and that basic thing going. So I think we would have to do this, we'd have to first do a variance. Since the bylaw says they must live on property for the kennel and residential district. Since this is a residential, partially residential district, we have to get a variance for that. Take the piece of the zoning bylaw, and then we would have to, grant variance for an exceptional use of the properties, commercial. So I, yes, yes.
What are we saying about conditions?
So
What sort of conditions are you looking for?
I was looking for conditions that we abide by, limited to the request of the applicant. No more than 20 dogs, no dogs on overnight.
The outdoor kennel.
So we would not going for cat, right? So
She will be going for a kennel license.
Right.
With the select board. And at the select board meeting,
Yeah.
they'll make those conditions on the kennel license.
But she said it wasn't gonna be an outdoor kennel, it was gonna be inside.
So I
Yeah,
think,
she still needs to
these
come
are all, maybe as a select board, we'll have to put on that.
Got it.
And
Thank
she'll
you.
still be going to board.
Don't have to say it.
So it sounds like the select board participates in that, but doesn't this board also put in?
Well,
that requirement?
the select board, when you could grant the kennel license.
Yeah.
And then the conditions to the conditions for the actual running of the business.
Yep.
They could put on.
That's what it's, and that's kind of what I was saying.
So when we stay here for conditions, doesn't it, they throw out and come up with their own conditions?
I can send a letter from the ZBA stating the conditions that the ZBA requests
For the kennel
for the kennel license. So the select board can hear the ZBA's.
I
What conditions they want to put on.
I can
Give that to you.
definitely, I mean, we can as a board discuss that. Make that request part of our.
Review.
Then we're,
Yeah, I just don't know. With the enforcement come in. If we set them, whereas the select board setting them for both the kennel license. Meaning that they have.
well, that's why we're requesting the select board to put the conditions on rather than us
putting.
putting them on. We can say,
As far as I don't know how enforcement would be.
Yeah.
And what the enforcement mechanism is. Except going to like land court, which that's not this board, but by the select board having the ability to revoke a kennel license, then she would be able.
so because my view is that these are conditions of the operation of the business, which is, what the license is providing for rather than the conditions related to the property.
I've been on zoning for a long time, a lot of times, say, hours of operation, how many dogs you gonna have? 100, 200, 20, 10, whatever, operate number. Just set that and stuff.
we could make a.
Well, that's the point.
You know,
We're trying to have that
We're
instituted
not gonna
here.
get, say,
We could make our variance subject to.
yeah, approval from the selectmen.
With the.
Yeah, subject to, okay,
Okay.
conditional.
Don't go, people.
Well, so first, I'm gonna make a motion to close the hearing.
Second,
Matt Clark, aye.
Tom Morelli, aye.
I,
Then I will
Hearing is closed.
make a motion to approve two variances on this property. The first variance being relief from the zoning bylaw for on kennels. State the requirement that the owner needs to be living on the property. And then the second variance is a use variance, granting variance for exceptional uses provided. And this is providing the hardship granted by the unique topography of the land, it being split the way it is. I'm going to ask that this be conditioned on the select board putting conditions on the kennel license that the dogs not be outside That we, what we say, did we say 20 dogs? No, they can't be, yeah, obviously they go inside.
No outdoor kennels.
No
Yeah.
outdoor kennels or,
Not over.
and no overnight dogs. I guess, yeah, that's,
Over to, I'll put that all in one.
that is my motion.
For a second. Second.
Matt Clark,
I'm really not.
Answers I.
The thing is, if you want to amend the motion, you have to say that. Say that.
Oh, right.
No, I was just saying, it's a long motion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Was it one more board then?
One or two? Thank you.
It's always.
Can you email me on Monday?
Thank you all for coming.
Cool. Thanks, Dylan.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Yeah, good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Yeah, thanks.
Oh, my gosh.
Thank you.
Well, so she asked for us to put the, that on the agenda every time, because she might have information. So we have
So
to.
we know that we.
Yeah, she's gonna leave it on the agenda, we'll say it's nothing, no information from us today. Might be next time.
Let's go in discussions.
Yeah.
I think we're I'm gonna make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Live across the street, yeah.
Tom Morello, aye.
Answers I.
So we appreciate it.
How about being in the place? I can do it, otherwise.
Well, that's because our house is there.